So there's a boarding incident in last night's game. Anton Stralman goes in and hits Tom Wilson, gets a 2-minute penalty. During the game, I had noticed that Tampa Lightning players were doing a lot of things to Tom Wilson. Wilson leaves the ice for maintenance checkup after getting the hit. That, to me, it hit the head. Okay, now I'm going to say that straight out. And the NHL player safety saying that since Stralman changed his angle of the hit to minimize impact, that he won't get suspended and it's not going to have any supplementary discipline of any sort. This is weird. I guess it's just strange to me because when you look at some of these hits and you go, well, they changed the angle, so they did this, but... And then in the back of my mind, I go, okay, so he changed the angle, but Wilson got suspended 3 games for a hit that not everybody agreed was suspendable. And wouldn't have been suspendable in the game 10 years ago. And I sometimes wonder if some of these hits that the NHL is looking at right now and going, that's fine. If those in a few years are going to be going, well, wait. And it's not about taking hitting out of the game. People always say that. I'm not talking about a good, hard, shoulder-to-shoulder hit. I'm just talking about whenever the head is impacted, I think the NHL is going to look at that. I think you're going to see other hits that look really brutal. The NHL just going, well, head's not contacted, so it's good. And there are going to be concussions that happen. It's a fast-moving sport, and it's just part of the game. But it's about trying to minimize some of the head trauma and the risks. And you're never going to get it out of the game. It's never going to be completely gone. But you can do your best to minimize it, and the league hasn't always done its best to minimize it. Now, in this hit, it's impossible to escape the fact that it's Tom Wilson that gets hit. So that magnifies it further. And you ask yourself, if that's anybody on the Capitals but Tom Wilson taking that hit, is it a suspension? And I don't know the answer. I know that there were a lot of Lightning players working him over last night, and that there wasn't a lot of calls. Like, there was a call on that play, but there were a lot of other plays that I saw that I'm like, wow. But then I'd look and I go, 43, that's Wilson. And it was enough of an issue to me that I took notice of it. That I was like, wow, that was a smoking hit. Oh, okay. Or that was a hook, or that was a slash, that was a trip. Oh, well, it's Wilson again. And other players have had this. Kessler in Vancouver, and now in Anaheim. Burroughs in Vancouver had this too. Marchand's going through it in Boston too. Where a referee looks at the number on the jersey of the guy who got hit, slashed, high-sticked, hooked, and says, borderline. Or the NHL, the league will look at it and go, well, he's got a history with us, so And it's quite possible that Don Cherry will sit there tonight and say, well, he turned his back at the last second, that's why it was a hit. I don't think so. He likes Wilson quite a bit, but there is that camp, too, that says, well, if you get smoked into the boards and if you turn your back to the play, then you deserve it, which I don't subscribe to that idea at all. I would like to think that players don't intentionally get hit from behind into the boards, and take their health at risk to get a 2-minute power play. That's insanity. But Wilson is not going to get the benefit of these calls, and I feel bad for him because, based on the fact that it was a controversial hit that got him that 3-game suspension. But now that he's had that suspension, anytime he's involved in something like this, you're going to have press sticking microphones in your face and cameras in your face and asking you about what your opinion is on it. And his opinion is going to be that hit sucked, and I'm not happy about it. And you always have to toe that line, because if you criticize the officials and you criticize the officiating, you get fined by the league. That's why coaches don't criticize the officiating, because you get fined by the league every time you do. So they just stand there and go, oh, what can you do? Because they can't say anything. So Wilson's in a tough spot, and yet, on some level, he's put himself in that tough spot. And there's a number of hits that he's done in the playoffs that we can look at and go, oh, I don't know. And then eventually that led to the 3-game suspension. A hit that if it's thrown by another player on the team that doesn't have that previous history maybe doesn't get suspended at all. I don't know. It's a strange world we live in where that's a thing, that a guy's reputation can decide whether or not it's a penalty, whether or not it's a suspension. Stralman plays hard, and I know he's been borderline before. I don't remember making a video about a Stralman hit, but I know Stralman's name's come up with hits before. So, again, if you're Wilson, you got to be throwing your arms in the air and going, what do I have to do? Well, the NHL has to see as a clean player. And with the way Wilson plays hockey, if he's seen as a clean player, it means he's not being effective. And I think back to Marchand in the second round against Tampa. Once the NHL gave him that warning about what he was doing with Callahan, his game was completely ineffective. He was ineffective from there on. So hopefully Wilson's able to rise above it, and hopefully in the next game we don't see him trying some kind of a retribution thing, because that's where, if it's Wilson and if it's retribution on Stralman, if he looks for that opportunity to get retribution, then he could be looking at a suspension, and nobody wants that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know this is a controversial topic, so I try to cover it as gingerly as possible, but it's out there in the media, and I know Capitals fans are probably upset about the Stralman hit not being suspended or deemed suspendable by the NHL's head office, and we'll see what goes on from there. But hopefully this doesn't cause something else to go on in this series. But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Just happen to view this video online, and I'll talk to you again soon.